from people saying, what is WikiLeaks doing? Are they trying to put Trump in the White House?
My analysis is that Trump would not be permitted to win. Why do I say that? Because he's had every establishment offside. Trump doesn't have one establishment, maybe with the exception of the evangelicals, if you can call them an establishment. But banks, intelligence, arms companies,
well, they all want him beat,
foreign money, etc.,
yeah,
is all united behind Hillary Clinton, and the media as well. So media owners and even journalists themselves.
The accusations that WikiLeaks is in league with the Russians, and you hear people saying, well, why doesn't WikiLeaks investigate and publish emails on Russia?
We have published over 800,000 documents of various kinds that relate to Russia. Most of those are critical. And a great many books have come out of our publications about Russia, most of which are critical. And our documents have gone on to be used in quite a number of court cases, refugee cases of people fleeing some kinds of claimed political persecution in Russia, which they use our documents to back up.
Do you take yourself a view of the US election? Do you have a preference for Clinton or Trump?
Donald Trump, what does he represent in the American mind and in the European mind? He represents American white trash. Deplorable and irredeemable. Basically the same thing. It means from a establishment or educated, cosmopolitan, urbane perspective, these people are, they're like the rednecks, and you can't, like, they're just, can never deal with them. And because he so clearly, through his words and actions and the type of people who turns up his rallies, represents people who are not the upper middle class educated. Yeah. There's a fear of seeming to be associated in any way with that, a social fear that lowers the class status of anyone who can be accused of somehow assisting in any way Trump, including by criticizing Clinton. Yeah. And if you look at how the middle class gains its economic and social power, it makes absolute sense.
I'd like to talk about Ecuador, the small country that has given you refuge and given you asylum in this embassy in London. Now, Ecuador cut off the internet from here, where we're doing this interview, in the embassy, for the clearly obvious reason that they were concerned about appearing to intervene in the US election campaign. Can you talk about why they would take that action and your own views on Ecuador's support for you?
Let's go back 4 years ago.
Right.
Ecuador, I made an asylum application to Ecuador in this embassy because of the US extradition case. Yeah. And the result was, after a month, I was successful in asylum application, and then the embassy has been surrounded by police. Quite an expensive police operation, which the British government admits to spending more than £12.6 million. They admitted that over a year ago. And now there's undercover police and there's robot surveillance cameras of various kinds. So that there has been a quite serious conflict right here in the heart of London between Ecuador, a country of 16 million people, and the United Kingdom and the Americans who have been helping on the side. So But that was a brave and principled thing for Ecuador to do. Now we have the US election on foot. The Ecuadorian election is in February next year. You have the White House feeling the political heat as a result of the true information that we have been publishing. WikiLeaks does not publish from the jurisdiction of Ecuador, from this embassy, or in the territory of Ecuador. We publish from France, we publish from Germany, we publish from the Netherlands, and a number of other countries, so that the attempted squeeze on WikiLeaks is through my refugee status. And this is really intolerable. If you try and get at a publishing organization to try and prevent it publishing true information that is of intense interest to the American people and others about an election.
Tell us what would happen if you walked out of this embassy.
So I would be immediately arrested by the British police, and I would then be extradited either immediately to the United States or to Sweden. In Sweden I am not charged. I've already been previously cleared, etc. So we're not certain exactly what would happen there, but then we know that the Swedish government has refused to say that they will not extradite me to the United States, and they have extradited 100% of people that the US has requested since at least 2000. So over the last 15 years, every single person the US has tried to extradite from Sweden has been extradited, and they refuse to provide a guarantee. So it's, yeah.
I mean, people often ask how you cope with the isolation here.
Look, one of the best attributes of human beings is that they are adaptable. One of the worst attributes of human beings is they are adaptable. They adapt and start to tolerate abuses. They adapt to being involved themselves in abuses. They adapt to adversity and continue on. So in my situation, frankly, I'm a bit institutionalized. This is the world. Visually, this is the world.
It's the world without sunlight, for one thing, isn't it?
It's a world without sunlight, but I haven't seen sunlight in so long. Like, I don't remember it. So, yeah, you adapt. The one real irritant is that my young children, they also adapt. They adapt to being without their father. That's a hard adaptation, which they didn't ask for.
Do you worry about them?
Yeah, I worry about them. I worry about their mother.
Yeah. Some people would say, well, why don't you end it and simply walk out the door and allow yourself to be extradited to Sweden?
The UN has looked into this whole situation. They spent 18 months in formal adversarial litigation, me at the UN versus Sweden and the UK. Who's right? The UN made a conclusion. I'm being arbitrarily detained, illegally deprived of my freedom, that what has been occurred has not occurred within the laws that the United Kingdom and Sweden must obey. It is an illegal abuse. The United Nations formally asking, what's going on here? What's your legal explanation for this? He says that you should recognize his asylum. Sweden formally writing back to the United Nations says, no, we're not going to. So leaving open their ability to extradite. I just find it absolutely amazing that the narrative about this situation is not put out publicly in the press, because it doesn't suit the Western establishment narrative that yes, the West has political prisoners. It's a reality. It's not just me. There's a bunch of other people as well. The West has political prisoners. No state accepts to call the people it is imprisoning or detaining for political reasons political prisoners. They don't call them political prisoners in China. They don't call them political prisoners in Azerbaijan. And they don't call them political prisoners in the United States, the UK, or Sweden. It's absolutely intolerable to have that kind of self-perception. But here we have a case, talking about the Swedish case, where I have never been charged with a crime, where I have already been cleared and found to be innocent, where the woman herself said that the police made it up, where the United Nations formally said the whole thing is illegal, where the state of Ecuador also investigated and found that I should be given asylum. Those are the facts. But what is the rhetoric?
Different.
The rhetoric is pretending, constantly pretending that I have been charged with a crime, never mentioning that I have been already previously cleared, never mentioning that the woman herself says that the police made it up, trying to avoid that the UN formally found that the whole thing is illegal, never even mentioning that Ecuador made a formal assessment through its formal processes and found that, yes, I am subject to persecution by the United States.